Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Rex. It's Tuesday morning, and we're talking about change this week. And, excuse me here, my voice just disappeared on me. One of the things about change is that we can be fearful of it. And, the simple reality is that oftentimes that fear that we experience in the face of change can sort of stop us in our tracks. And in the Old Testament, there's a story about Israel wandering in the wilderness. And as they were wandering, they had been delivered from slavery in Egypt, but they had not yet entered into the land that God had given them. And it's interesting that the change, can often lead us into despair, and we long for that which was familiar, even if it was bad. Now, that's kind of what happened to Israel in the wilderness. They began to long for the good old days, when they were in slavery in Egypt, and they got fed all the time, and the food was at least decent, so slavery just seemed pretty good. And, oftentimes that fear of change can cause us to long for that which is familiar. And now that sounds kind of shocking, but sociologists have told us in multiple studies that when we deal with change is most often perceived as loss. That no matter how good the change is, we tend to kind of long for the good old days. Now, I think that's why faith is so important in this whole process of change. Because if we don't see the potential of where we're going, we're never going to get there. We're never going to accomplish that change that God desires in our life. And we will return to the good old days, even if they were miserable old days. Somehow we think that we're going to discover a place of safety and familiarity there, and we kind of enjoy the misery of it, I guess. But instead, God promises us a future, and He tells us by faith that we're to move toward it. Now, that means that faith is an element in effective change in your life. That means that also, we have to always maintain this attitude of faith. You see, one of the things that also happened to Israel when they were wandering in the wilderness, they got right up to the edge of the land. They sent in some spies and they looked around and they came back and they said, it's a good land, but it's filled with giants. We will never succeed. And in that case, their fears stopped them from ever entering the land that God had promised to them. So this faith element is important then, as I say, in this process of change, because change can be pretty daunting at times. So we're going to need a good dose of faith along the way. Well, when we look at all this, one of the things we see is that change may be something really positive. And we may come right up to the edge of it in our own lives, and we may resist it, we may fight it, we may say it can't be done, we may say it makes us uncomfortable, we may say we prefer that which is familiar, but change is usually an opportunity if we will see it through the eyes of faith. So as Israel turned away from their belief in the promise of God, I would say to you, don't make the same mistake. Look at change, evaluate it carefully, and step into the future that God has for you. And change can become a blessing. Anyway, bye for now. God bless. Have a great day.